Hey, Purpose Chasers, big news. Doors are officially open for the brand new Pillar Mastery. If you've ever felt stuck or like your personal goals are always on the back burner, this is your moment. Pillar Mastery is a transformational program that uses my proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework to help you align your vision, create momentum, and finally start seeing results. Now, who is this for? Ambitious individuals who want to balance success with well-being. And guess what? If you join before January 26th, you'll unlock exclusive live bonuses, including deep dive workshops and Q&A sessions with me. Don't miss your chance to elevate your life in 2025. Head to pillarmastery.com for all the details. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together.
Do not hesitate, because when you understand what's on the other side, you will wonder why you didn't do this earlier.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. And this is the space that you come to every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. In this community, we understand that wealth is so much more than just simply money and material possessions, no matter what you've thought it was your entire life. The reality is the true original 12th century definition of wealth was actually the condition of well-being and happiness. And we are a community of purpose chasers from all over the globe who really have recommitted and aligned ourselves to this philosophy, to this way of being, because we understand that when we are well, when we are truly well, we can get into the alignment that really aligns with what we're being called to do in this world, without all the clutter, without all the external ideas, validation, just all of it. We get to truly live free. And I'm so excited because these pillars of redefining wealth, the 6 pillars of wealth that I have been sharing for the last 7, almost 8 years now, I get the joy of being able to introduce you to clients from Pillar Mastery. This week, we're talking to all Pillar Mastery clients, and you get to hear how they have not just allowed these pillars to be this cute idea they heard on the podcast, but you get to hear what happens when you actually step in to making the pillars a part of your life and a part of how you process what you're processing. And today, I get to introduce you to Shirley Senn, who is incredible. Shirley finds inspiration in the stories of underserved communities that she's empowered on their journey to financial well-being. She's a dedicated advocate for social justice and economic empowerment, and she brings over 30 years of expertise in the credit union movement, complemented by her role as a consulting producer for PBS's award-winning Opportunity Knocks. And yes, that is the show that I am a part of, that I get to be a financial coach on. But you'll hear more about how Shirley was introduced to me in just a moment. Listen, she says transformative programs like Pillar Mastery and Command the Stage have really helped sharpen her focus. So much so that this month she is launching Synergy Solutions. It's a company devoted to combining technology and credit union resources to help survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and sex trafficking reclaim financial independence. Without further ado, here is Shirley Senn. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Shirley.
Thank you, Patrice. I'm so excited. I have to tell you, since I formally met you a couple of years ago, but when I got involved in more of the coaching last November, it has literally been transformational every step of the way. So I'm really excited here and just hope I can share a little bit of what this has brought to my life and to my family, and just everything that I have been able to touch has just been pure joy this year.
Oh my gosh. So at the time that the audience hears this, it'll be January 2025. So you were introduced to me, is it November 2023?
Yes, for your programs, but I'd actually met you when we were at the finale of season 1 for Opportunity Knocks at Dollywood.
Yes. Okay. So it's been actually a couple years.
Yes.
So what made you come in closer and say, oh, I want to hear more about what this girl is talking about here?
Well, you and I both have a friend in common that, after Jamie Strayer had introduced me to Opportunity Knocks and what she was doing, I was totally on board because what that show reflected and what it was opening doors for opportunity for people that were so in alignment with what I do for a living every day. And that passion just continued to exude even after the recording of that first season was done. And I was very intrigued and enamored of what you, along with Lewis and Jean, brought to the show in terms of how you were transforming people's lives. And it wasn't, you gave them the tools, but it was up to them. And so I was really intrigued listening to how that process was going. And at that time, I was kind of struggling myself. I didn't know where I was. Like I knew I had value. I had a lot going on in my life, probably too much. And I had no focus. It was like, I felt like I was just running around in circles. And so I reached out to Jamie and I were talking and she's like, you should reach out to Patrice. So I thought, well, I'll try the one that was kind of the beginning, which was the 6 pillars. And it has totally, like, if things don't fit in those 6 pillars, they don't go in my life anymore. And so I really gauge everything I do around how those pillars fit to make decisions. And after that, it was just, okay, what else can I do? Where else can I go through all of this? So I think how everything has been built out with the intentionality of how you have designed this through your own experiences and then engaging the community around us. This isn't a Patrice Washington thing. This just happens to be that you are the catalyst, but it evolves as the community evolves. So that's why I'm still here. I'm a groupie.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think everyone that I've spoken to has really highlighted too the power of the community and being in space with like-hearted people where you can share vulnerably and transparently and really have a support system to get to the root of what may be blocking you from being able to follow through with the things that you say you desire. We'll get to more community, but I want to go back to having the framework of the pillars and having those categories. When you found me, you said it felt like at that time, like maybe just kind of all over the place. There were all these things. How did the pillars help you really create that structure? Like, what has that done in terms of how you live your life on the day-to-day basis?
Sometimes we tend to compartmentalize things, but we don't know exactly what compartment we put them in. And when you have some clarity about, I don't like the term lane because I think that keeps someone very structured and doesn't allow them to kind of expand out. But what it was is it gave some clear definition of what these different things that were going on in my life. And I think if we don't have the opportunity to understand what was going on and how it affects and where it fits in, because these pillars are independent, but they're also intersectionality once you learn how to use them. And so for me, there was issues with health. There was issues with caregiving for 2 ailing parents. There was pressures from professional and personal and moving and my husband retiring and I didn't know where to start. And I think sometimes when you're very driven, you try to do everything at the same time and you don't know what is the thing that I need to start with. And so, having those 6 pillars, you could choose. And it was easy to kind of say, okay, is it the spirit? Is it fit? Is it people? Is it space? And when you kind of start using those as filters to say, okay, I have some real issues with my health. Does it fit in the fit pillar? Maybe so. Is it spirit led? And, once you start to figure those things out and figure out which pillar you need to start with first, it makes it an even flow. Like, so for me, I thought it was spirit because I was thinking that I've had such a faith my whole life, but had I pulled away from that? I really hadn't. I was just, my mental capacity was so cluttered. My physical was so cluttered that because of that, I couldn't concentrate on what I needed to do in the spirit pillar and with my faith. And so looking at where I was even a year ago, I've lost 60 pounds. My health markers are the best they've been in decades. My mental health is much better. And none of this happened overnight. And you have to make a commitment to stay. You're going to find roadblocks. You're going to find things that may change that trajectory. And like I said, having the fact that I have a faith, being in a community that is truly faith driven, and having some flexibility in how I needed to maneuver for me really started to bring that clarity. So once I found the fit, which was the physical part, because that was wearing on everything else, then my mental clarity started to come back. And because of that, I was able to adjust the cleansing that I got in the fit pillar and start moving that into the other areas. And I know exactly where I need to readjust now when I move into different. And I find that if I don't keep my focus on the spiritual side with those pillars, it's very easy for me to see during the year or during a day or during the week when I have left that and tried to do things without that direction. As soon as I get back on the main road, things are good again.
That's how I feel too. I love having the pillars as kind of those guideposts for me, because when I start to feel off, I can tell when I've drifted, and it gives me something to go back and say, let me just check in. Let me take some inventory in each one of the pillars and see where maybe I have fallen off on my rituals or routines, or where am I not using my voice? Where am I not being radically honest, maybe with some of the people or relationships that connect to each one of these pillars? Once, like you said, once you have the awareness that they exist, and I think for a lot of people coming into pillar mastery, it's like you hear the pillars, you hear me refer to the 6 pillars on the podcast, maybe, or if you see me speak or something, but being in pillar mastery and really identifying week after week what this pillar really means. Because sometimes when it sounds familiar, you're like, well, of course, health is wealth. We've all heard that. But when you really look at the connection of, man, is this why I feel so, like you said, the mental clutter, is this why I feel like I'm not hearing God in this season? Is this actually the thing? Maybe it wasn't so much that God was quote unquote punishing me. Maybe I just can't even focus on hearing any of those next steps because there's all these other things that are genuinely clouding my ability to hear, like my physical well-being. So you've lost 60 pounds.
Yep.
Wow. That's incredible. All the health markers are much better.
Oh gosh. You don't realize if you've been, I physically was carrying that weight for so long that once I lost it and then I tried to pick up my dog, I was like, gosh, he's 20 pounds and he was heavy. And I think I was carrying around 3 Ralphies.
Wow.
But again, it's the perspective. It's being real and honest with yourself, because, I could rationalize. It's like, I'm going through this transformation. I'm okay. I can walk, I can do things, and not realizing how all the excuses was just adding more proverbial weight to all of that. And it is enlightening to have to be radically honest with yourself. It's shocking sometimes, but now I do those check-ins with myself, and I have to adjust because you may go from one extreme to the other. Like, is it good to be totally transparent about everything?
Right.
I think it's definitely, you have to be totally honest, but sometimes you have to kind of know when to pull back a little bit.
Use discernment. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm working through that. But I think at the end of the day, I would much rather be over truthful than have to think about. So again, it's these pillars help you adjust when you're using them and you're using the tools that you've brought into even the new ones that we're working through. I mean, again, this has been a constant transformation for all of us. Where I was a year ago, I never want to go back to that person, but I'm thankful to that person, because had I not been there, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And it does help me adjust with the highs and the lows. And I mean, we all have that. We should be honest to know that just because we've put ourselves on a new path and things have been going well, you're going to have hiccups, but I can adjust to them much better now.
Yeah, because you have the tools.
I have the tools.
Yeah. When you're experiencing something, you pull out your tools. Okay, let's take a look at this. So tell me about people pillar for you, because I know from your pillar mastery time that that was a really big one, just using your voice, like giving voice to truth. How has your people pillar been impacted by the work that you've done over this last year?
One of the things that I was always told, and I kind of accepted it as a nice thing, is, oh, Shirley, you're such a good co-pilot. You're a good servant leader. But they were being used in a way that was not what a servant leader actually is. It was being looked at as, you're never going to sit in the driver's seat. You're good to help me, but I don't really ever have the confidence that you're going to be the leader that maybe I would be. And so having to face that, like, hey, I just accepted what people were putting on me. So that's the role I took. And I did lose my voice. I allowed other people to, and again, this was my choice. It's not that people forced this on me. I think that was another thing about the radical honesty, is that everything we do is a choice. Even when you don't make a choice, it's a choice. And, it was a shift when I had some friends that were honest with me to say, you deserve better than this, but it's up to me to make that change. And so, I was gradually stepping into the role, and I'm like, I like this. I like owning my voice. I like owning my space. I have opinions. Sometimes they may not be good. Sometimes they may be, but accepting that literally transformed my entire circle. It allowed me to understand that quality over quantity. I didn't need to have, I know this sounds kind of weird, but I had 700 contacts on my phone. Some of these people I had not talked to in 20 years, but I was afraid to let them go. Maybe someday they might need me. Maybe I may need them. And I thought, you haven't heard from these people in 20 years. They're not going to be contacting you just to find out how you're doing. They could have done that 40 years ago. So literally cleaning this space out of my phone of these contacts, not knowing that they would be replaced with value of people that truly want to be in my life, and they add as much to mine as I hope that I add to them. And there's this reciprocity in this relationship. It was also kind of a painful experience as well, because when you have to let go of people, doesn't mean that you don't quit loving them, but sometimes you have to let go of the people that have been placing this on you. They have their own problems, and you can't fix everybody. And that was part of the problem, is that I was afraid to address things with people because I was afraid they would be upset with me. And I would tell you, I've lost some friends. I've had to change some relationships, even with family, for my own health. But recognizing that moving some of those people into different spaces and figuring out what is healthy for me and setting those boundaries. In some cases, I've been able to reestablish relationships, but with my own boundaries, and say, we can have this kind of relationship over here. It may not be the same as it was, but I still want to engage with you. And if you're comfortable enough to have it in this space, then I want to have you. But yeah, it's literally clean clutter out of my life. And the value that I have, I feel like in most every day that I can wake up with joy on my heart. Doesn't mean I'm always going to be happy. That's not what joy is. But, being able to recognize that the people that I do have left in my life and the ones that have come in are people I never would have thought. And as a result of doing that, Patrice, things that happened when I really started this deliberately in February have led to the opportunities I have today and where I wanted to put my focus. I knew I had a purpose. I had so many things, though. I was like, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to do that because, that's my passion. And it was a passion, but it wasn't the one that was my purpose. And that was such an enlightenment. I was put on other people's paths to help them. And then those doors would be shut, I thought. And so I'm like, well, what happened? And then I would pivot again, thinking I got this passion, and that door would be shut. And I forget who said it to me, but when I was explaining the disappointment I had, well, I brought those people together and I was so aligned with them and they went on without me. And somebody said this to me, those were never your doors to open. And when you realize that when you reach something and you keep fighting at that door and maybe it cracks a little and shuts again and it cracks a little and shuts again, realizing that's not your door makes it so much easier to say, okay, I'll just go around, because once we can get around to the other side, then we can really see what God had in place for us. And it doesn't mean we're not going to have that same thing again and again, but we have to trust. And when I did that, I really found where the type of passion that I had, the underlying was meant for something else, and everything else has fallen into place. It has made it easier to say no. It has been easier to say yes to the right things. And even saying no sometimes may be to your own detriment. You don't realize it at the time. But again, what we say sometimes in some of the credit union space is trust the process. Trust and have that faith completely. And now there's this sense of freedom that having that complete faith, I've never experienced this euphoric before. And I don't know really how to describe it, except for it's like such a literal weight being lifted off your shoulders and being able to move forward and not being concerned about money or concerned about health, or those are things you have to obviously take care of.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that I have to have everything that somebody else has over here. Everybody's going to be more or less than anybody else. We have to fit into where God wants us and be content with that. And when you're content, so many more blessings come, whether it's friends or opportunities or trips. I don't know. It's just things that I never thought that would be in my life even a year ago are here today. And the fact that it's scary. It's almost 58 years old to kind of start this new season, but I'm excited, and I'm starting something new with a group of people that we all have the same passion, that our vision is that we will be out of business because domestic violence will no longer exist. That's a very stretched vision, but we have to have that, because every second, every minute, every day that we're not doing something, that's one additional person's life that's being impacted, or unfortunately, a death. And everybody deserves respect and dignity. And this is where I know my calling is, and being aligned with these different people along the way. They're not always going to be on that journey with me, but they're a part of my journey.
Mm-hmm. A part of your journey.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so, amazing to hear you speak with such confidence and clarity, because for me, it feels very different in listening to you from just a year ago. And I remember when we talked about the people pillar, you talked about, I think it was a bridge between people and space pillar, when you gave us the example of the egg carton. Do you remember that?
Oh,
you were talking about how many people actually get to go, and you were talking about that whole
yes.
notion. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I do, because, egg cartons only have room for 12 eggs or 18 eggs. And if I wanted to put more eggs in there, I had to take one out.
Yeah.
Eggs are very breakable. They're very sensitive, but put in that carton, there's strength in that carton. So I felt like, I didn't have room for 10 dozen eggs. I had room for this carton of eggs. And I have to still think the same way. It's, even when I was a kid, if we got a new toy, we were like, okay, you have to give one away. There was obviously a lesson learned in that for life, but it's also, again, taking into consideration the physical clutter, but it also is a mental clutter. So it's kind of that same thing. But yeah, the voice that I feel like I have, I own my space and I can make a difference, because people now know that, hey, I want to listen to her, and I've put myself with intentionality in places that I can have a voice And this isn't an ego thing. This is, I need that space so that the message and what we want to do to help change lives is needed with the people that I have within my tribe now. And how can we leverage that to make a difference so that our purpose is not stagnant, that it has dynamic behind it.
You know that feeling when you're chasing big dreams, but deep down, it feels like something's off. Like ambition is pulling you one way, but your vision for the life you really want is somewhere else entirely. That's exactly why I created Pillar Mastery, to help you make ambition align with what truly matters. This is your chance to join a self-paced, on-demand program where you will gain lifetime access to the proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework. It will help you balance success and well-being while moving towards your biggest goals. And here's the game changer. If you say yes now, you will unlock exclusive live bonuses available only through January 26th. It includes deep dive workshops, live Q&As with me to fine-tune your roadmap for 2025, and our brand new Pillar Progress Assessment. This is a powerful tool that takes just 15 minutes to complete. It'll give you your exact score for each pillar, show you what you need to do next, and highlight the 5 building blocks that need your attention the most. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start creating aligned momentum, head to Pillar Mastery now. Don't wait, your next level is waiting. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together. Speaking of having a voice, it was so exciting when we shared at Redefining Wealth Live 2024. You got a chance to come on stage and share some of your journey from Pillar Mastery, Command the Stage.
Yes.
And you had to leave Redefining Wealth Live early because
I was asked to be part of a speaking engagement at I think it was the first or second annual Domestic Violence Summit in New Mexico. And all of this came about, again, February. I met the right people. I was engaged with their passion for preventing domestic violence and protection. And it just happened to be in New Mexico where this project was going on, which is my home state. So I thought, that's not coincidence. I gained my footing. I was a little awkward for the first couple of months, but in June, had I not gone through what I had, Patrice, I would not have had the courage to say, we need to go to the governor's office. We didn't have an appointment. I just knew that in order to facilitate some of the things I knew we needed to do, we needed to meet with the governor because she controlled how that funding was going to happen. And so we walked in, and my dad had been a state senator back in the 80s when I was there. So I knew the building. Went in, asked if we could see the governor, and the lady behind the desk said, well, she's not here right now. And she asked what we wanted to see. And she's like, you don't need to see the governor anyway. You need to actually talk to her safety policy officer. Turned out to be the perfect person because, and again, talk about divine intervention. This gentleman had been on the police force for 30 years. His wife happened to be one of the regional district attorneys. I think she was district attorney that helps specifically with domestic violence cases. You know, in the midst of all of this, he said, do you believe in coincidence? I said, no, I don't. He says, well, neither do I. And it became a discussion of spirituality. By the end of that gentleman was the right person we needed to see because the different connections that we started between that and the ones that we had been building into this led us to the fact that we now have this whole initiative working in Albuquerque, and it's spreading out to other parts of New Mexico. Like I said, to connect all of the right people through politics and nonprofits and faith-based organizations and just people. And as a result of that, yes, coming in, not only being able to monitor panels and do speaking, but also doing the podcast. And it's like, it's you almost get this high because what else can I do? What else can we impact to make sure that people have a voice, that women have a voice, that gender-based violence victims have a voice, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, all of this. And it just opens up so many more doors to make those impacts. Again, this isn't about money. This was all volunteer work. And to spend the time I did and meet the people, I could not have done that as well. I speak from the heart. I've never been able to use a PowerPoint presentation effectively or write things on a card. I feel like if you can't speak from your heart, then you're not in the right audience because you should have that connection. And I had this connection and I knew that I didn't need to prepare. It just needed to come from what I knew. But Command the Stage gave me the tools again to have that confidence. And when I tell people MVM, they're like, what's that? I said, Mountain Valley Mountain. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, if you will follow this, I said, everything that you do will have impact. And I said, you start at the mountain as the expert, you take them down into the valley so that you can relate to who your audience is and you bring them back up with resolution.
Yeah. You got to just tell them, go to Command the Stage. Patrice will teach you.
Yes, but I don't give anything else away after that. But I mean, that MVM has made such a difference in giving me opportunities to have a voice, but be organized about it because I know, you can talk from the heart and still not get a message out. But if you have learned these techniques and used them, and anybody going through Command the Stage, there's so many different tools and community there that I probably will do it again because I didn't get an opportunity to really use all the tools. And I have seen from several of the people that were there at Command the Stage and on the dynamic transformation that they've seen. So I've been through one, but some of these ladies have they're totally different people. So yes, your tools, it's what you developed, but it's been, like I said, it never is static. It's constantly changing. There's something new that's added to it all the time. And I think that's what makes this something that you can participate in any of the programs that you've had and know that there's going to be constant changes in education and this community and camaraderie that, if you use it, it will be there the rest of your life. As long as you want to participate in it, these women are there. I still get calls from people asking how I'm doing, what's going on. I've met you. I've met some wonderful people that I truly consider friends. I mean, we're not neighbors, but there's a part of me that I feel like is connected with you, with the rest of the community. And while there's probably thousands of people in that community, we all feel like we're the one, right? It's like you feel like you have one-to-one connections with everybody, that it's not this large classroom setting that when everybody's done, they go their own way. It is a true community.
Oh, I love that, Shirley. I love that so much. And I love that you just spoke about how these kind of God wink, these spirit-led movements happened throughout this last year to really align you with what you were called to do. Like, these are all things that you've been passionate about, but now you're getting to do it in the way that it occurs to you and have even deeper impact.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really do believe Life by the Pillars has the ability to do for us, is that as we start to be aware of the things that are keeping us cluttered and just not able to hear from our souls, to feel like truly like we can move by the Spirit, we can move with this type of clarity and confidence and conviction. When you can do that, I do feel like walking into your purpose, living from your purpose becomes something. You said euphoria, like there's a euphoria, there's a euphoric feeling, but it doesn't feel so difficult. And I think that's what I hear over and over again, is that it feels like you can move with more ease. Not that it's easy, but that you have the confidence to move with more ease into what you're feeling led to do.
Yes. One lesson that's sometimes hard to swallow, but again, having this community and the pillars. I've been in the work industry almost 40 years. And when you've worked that long, you think you are an expert at everything, I think, or that, that you will always need to be in the space you're in. And this year where I've been working in the space I've been working in, it's been something new for me and it's been a challenge. At the same time, I think it's been a balance of the scales. It's like I needed to be less and less in the space that I was in because we had brought in people that had the capabilities to take over what we were doing. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow because you think, oh, I'm not replaceable. Nobody else knows what I do. But that's not the right mindset to have, because if we have that kind of mindset, then we never get the opportunity to experience anything else because we're stuck. And when we try to push ourselves back into that comfort and don't take advantage of the things that we're being led to do, that's when we start to falter. So I've learned that I got to keep an open mind. I've got to pay attention to what those signs are. They're really something within one of those 6 pillars. And by moving myself into this next realm has opened up that new season. And there's nothing wrong with accepting that there is a transition. I don't see it as an end. I just, like you said, it's a transition into a new season. And I don't look at seasons anymore as being 5 or 10 years. They're 90 days or 180 days, because I can't control things that are going to have 5 or 10 years. But if I can plan right now, then I can make the steps that I need to do to take that next season under my wing and figure out what that looks like and plan for it. Doesn't mean everything's going to go how my plan is. And I've learned to be more pliable with that, but we need to know where our direction is. I kind of look at it from this standpoint. We can have a map, we can have a plan, and we can go down the road. There's going to be detours. There's going to be bumps in the road. Things are going to be closed. That park may not exist. And we have to be able to take all that. But if you don't at least have an opportunity to at least envision where that looks like, it's going to be easier to fail. And failure is not a bad thing. But when we at least have a plan, we can help mitigate some of the risk, if that makes sense. Like I said, these tools, I will continue to enrich myself in this community and balance that, because it's very easy to say, I don't have time for that, or I'll try that next year. And every time that I've like, well, no, I need to really listen to what Patrice has to say or to get on. And I've just been enriched. And I love what we're doing right now with the starting day one on day one. You don't have to start at January 1st.
Right.
And I'm loving getting engaged in that community again, because I hadn't made time for that because I was letting other things take over. So what you have put in place with your own experiences and how everybody else's experiences are enriching just as much, it's almost like an addiction. And I want to be a part of this space because we lift everybody up, but we're real and authentic. And sometimes you get to hear things that you don't want to hear, but you need to hear them. And at the end of the day, you're like, thank you for that.
Yeah. And I love just the vulnerability of our community as a whole.
I do too.
Yeah. It's a really special place that I feel real gratitude, deep gratitude to be able to curate. Because I definitely know I don't feel like it's about me at all. I just feel really blessed to be in position to curate a space.
That's a good word. Yeah.
For folks to come. Shirley, before I let you go, I wanted to ask something you pointed out earlier. You said at 58, after all these years, right, we have a wide range in our community. We have folks that are college age, fresh out of college, and then we have folks who have been in the workforce for 20, 30, 40 years. And yet, I feel like it's still a space for everyone. Did you have any hesitation about coming into the space, about your age, about my age? Did you ever have any hesitation? Because if there's someone who is hesitating, I would love for them to hear from you.
I did. And I don't know that it was from age. Is this for me? Am I going to fit? I think we still have these stereotypic views in our head that we're not worthy enough, or that's not the right group. And I let that dissolve. So I think everybody needs to come in with an open mind. I mean, this isn't just women. I remember Floyd.
Yeah.
Right? Loved Floyd. And I think people need to understand that a transformation for your life doesn't have to be in a box. You don't have to be in just this group or with just this religion or just this type of person in this city or whatever. I think that's been something that has been placed on us in society, that we profile everything. Being in the environment that I've been over the last 10 years has really opened my mind on how detrimental that is, even if you don't think you're doing it. And so releasing myself of any even unconscious biases and being more attentive to that. If I had not come in with an open mind and had allowed myself to say, nah, they're Southerners and I'm a Northerner, or they're in their 20s and I'm in my 50s. If I had done that, I would not be where I'm at today. I don't think I would be the person I'm at, having the courage to do what I'm doing, meeting the people I am, having the voice I am. It's enriched my marriage. My husband retired 2 years ago from the Navy, and he was kind of lost. And we took a deliberate, he travels with me everywhere because we didn't get to do that for 20 years. And I would not have done that because I was like, I don't know that he wants to be a part of my world. Doggone it, he sure did. And if not only that, when we go places now, everybody's like, where's Philip? It's not about, it's not like, well, I'm here to help. No, where's Philip? We love Philip, and I would not have had that had I not been open-minded to sit in something that I probably would not have done before, because it was not a community that I would have been exposed to had I not done the Opportunity Knocks thing and gone to Dollywood and met these people. So we have to be open that even if you're being led in a way you're like, I don't understand that. That's not a road that I should be taking. Trust it. Because if you don't, you're never going to know. And I'm not ever going to be regretful of opening up this part of my life, the vulnerability, what I've learned, the people I've met, the direction I've taken. It's not always been a smooth one. I mean, there's been some things because I've said no because they were not good for me. Have been a little bit sometimes of a hard pill to swallow. But then when you wait and sit back and trust that God has the time, there's a time for every season. If we learn to trust that, you're going to get that aha moment. And I've had mine brushing my teeth. I've had them in the bathtub. I've had them driving down the road. But when that spirit hits, immediately I'm like, Philip, I know why this happened. I know why this occurred. And when you can see that and the clarity that comes with that vision, everything else falls into place. And that's been one of the biggest piece to my heart and to relationships this year, is understanding that, boy, it's so much easier now, and the clarity that when something comes through, this is my vision, this is my purpose. And if it doesn't fit through those filters, if it's not my North Star, then I have to say no, because I know it's not good for me and it's not going to be good for them either. But you know what? I will help you find resources that would help you align with what you want, but I'm just not going to be the person. And when I protect those guardrails, I can help more people because I have been giving myself the dignity and the respect that I didn't give myself. And this whole process this last year has made me understand that it may sound selfish to other people that you take care of yourself first, but we can't take care of others. The cliche, you can't be a good caregiver if you're not caring for yourself, is true. But it can't just be physically. It has to be fitting in those pillars. It has to be protecting your space, your physical space, your mental space, clearing off your phone. It isn't just about clearing out a room of clutter. It's things on your computer, in your desk, in your closet, in your mind. And really focusing on those pillars makes the clarity just pop. And like I said, when you can do that and you can filter through, and I know you have been more deliberate about this year, and I've really been paying attention to the changes that I've even seen in you over the year that I have been associated with you and your programs, that it's so enlightening. But I think about the ease and the peace that comes, and I have so much more time for things that I want to do, because if I'm going to go on vacation now, I'm going to go on vacation, and I'm not going to be available 24/7. I was doing that for everybody because I thought they needed me. They don't need me. They've got other people they can call on. They just called on me because they knew I was available all the time.
Because you made yourself available.
Yeah.
For false pretenses, for reasons that were not even Right. Supportive.
Not even knowing 2 years ago what imposter syndrome was. Now, all these terms, it's like, oh, that makes sense now. And I don't overuse these terms. It's just understanding them and putting them into perspective where we're at today. Again, the clarity. And I know now that having that clarity and those boundaries, I am a better caregiver for my parents. My mom has Alzheimer's. My dad's had 2 strokes. They're both in assisted living. And knowing that my entire life can't be them, I had to put some boundaries on that. And we have better relationships now. I have such a better closeness to what that means. It's healthy for my marriage. It's been healthy for my friendships. Friends that I had kind of put at a distance are now back in my life because I had allowed other people to put barriers on those relationships. And then the people that put those barriers are ones that I've had to put boundaries on now, realizing that they're not healthy for me. Doesn't mean they're not my friends. Just means that I have to put these healthy boundaries, like putting healthy food in your body. Put crap, you're going to get crap. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. That didn't mean it that way.
No.
If you put bad food in, you're going to get bad results.
Right.
Sorry.
No, we totally get it. You are safe. You are fine. But I love that you said you're still my friend, but it sounds like, but I have to renegotiate some of the silent agreements that I've just allowed to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So that it could protect me, but also preserve the relationship.
Yeah.
And be one that's founded on more radical honesty and truth. And that is beautiful. Shirley, so if anyone is thinking about potentially coming into Pillar Mastery, any final words for them?
Yes. Go with your gut. I know we've said, sometimes when you go with your gut, that's for things that have happened in the past, but trust your intuition and your instinct because it literally has changed my life. And it's not just changed my life, it's changed the lives of the people that are around me. It makes my relationships more enriching. But the best thing is that it has changed my relationship with God, with everything that's involved in my spiritual life, to understand that that is the most important thing. And if you put God and Christ and the Holy Spirit first, doesn't mean your life's going to be full of happiness and wealth, money wealth. But if you realize and understand underneath what is meant by what pillars mean, that it's driven scripturally, that it's driven in a community that loves you and embraces you for who you are, and all they want to do is uplift you, I don't see why anybody wouldn't want to go through that. And, like I said, if it doesn't fit in one of those pillars, if it doesn't fit into my filters, then it doesn't go in my life anymore. So if you're hesitating, call me. I will tell you how my life has changed. My husband will give a testimony, but please, I would tell people, do not hesitate, because when you understand what's on the other side, you will wonder why you didn't do this earlier.
Wow. Shirley, thank you so much. I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you. Again, for me, sitting from this side of the screen, to know some of the stories and some of the very vulnerable moments that we get to share together in experiences like both Pillar Mastery, but also in Command the Stage, to see you rise to this level of just power and conviction and confidence is beautiful. It is beautiful to get to see, to be a part of, to be in community and space with you. And every time you show up, I have to say, like during your cycle of Pillar Mastery, you, Miss Wanda, just always the discernment, the wisdom, the nuggets, the gold that just drips from you is such a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing for me to get to experience on this side too. So for as much value as you may have received from being a part of Pillar Mastery, or you continue to receive by being in the Redefining Wealth community, I want you to know whenever you show up, I receive so much as well. So thank you for your yes too.
Well, I appreciate that, Patrice. Like I said, certain people are supposed to come into your life and stay. Others will come and go. And I feel like the door that was opened up to come and meet you and be a part of this community will be one that door is always going to stay open. It has led me to things that I would not have thought that I would be doing a year ago. And now I think, why did I wait so long? Because I know that there's been experiences that I've had that I didn't have the same kind of support that I'm now engaged in to make a difference. This has nothing to do with ego. This is like, I have resources, I have friends, I have opportunities that I can bring to the table with all these other people that we want to make, in particular, make a difference in the lives of the women, the survivors, their families, their children, that from a standpoint of financial abuse, how can we help them understand that they have value and that we want to get them back on their feet again with dignity in their own time, in their own space, with the right resources, and being involved in this and having this creating experience over the last 30 years. Now I know why. It's come down to this moment. It's something that I don't regret any of the heartaches, any of the shifts, and not understanding that, because it's why this is my purpose. It took me 33 professional years to figure that out. And everybody that's in my circle now supports me and I support them. And I couldn't ask for anything else.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. You guys, I'm going to link in the show notes to all things Shirley Senn, everything that she is up to, especially as you heard, when it comes to what she is passionate about. It may align with services or resources that you need. And she's a transformational speaker speaking on these topics. So if you want to connect with her and get her input as it relates to just being an advocate for social justice, economic empowerment, and especially the work that she's doing with survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, sex trafficking, all the things, Shirley is such a wealth of information. And like I said, when she speaks, we listen in the Redefining Wealth community. So if you are interested in Pillar Mastery, please come on over to pillarmastery.com. Again, it doesn't really matter where you are, how many professional years you have under your belt. There is probably bits and pieces of your purpose that are still waiting to be uncovered, unlocked in a much deeper way, and doing the work to clear the clutter in these 6 pillars of wealth so that you can really hear God for yourself, so that you can really move with a level of confidence and conviction again, or maybe for the first time. This is the work. Sometimes we think it's just about, I need a different job, but you can go to a new office and take the same insecurities, the same uncertainty, the same not using your voice. You can take all of that with you if you really want to have next level vision come forth. It's going to take you stopping and doing the work, maybe on your fit pillar like Shirley did, or in your people pillar. All of the pillars really do come together so beautifully to help you find the most authentic version of yourself, but also take the most authentic next step forward. So Pillar Mastery is available. The bonuses that we do currently have available, those have a time limit. But the beautiful thing is I have re-envisioned Pillar Mastery to be our flagship course that will always be open. So it doesn't matter what time you actually hear this episode, come to pillarmastery.com and check out what's available to you and take that next step. I pray that it blesses you the way it's blessed Shirley and so many of the other stories that you get to hear this week on the Redefining Wealth podcast. Listen, until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to be someone that chases money. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.